Hi, Tim here from the Thaiger with Ben Hart from Integrity Legal. Much taller than I thought you'd be.
Yeah, I'm a little, the camera adds a few inches, as they say.
And a few pounds from time to time.
Yeah, it does happen.
So, Ben, let's have a talk about visas. If you want to get a visa, there are three options as far as I can see. You can either do it yourself and wade through the paperwork and all the bureaucracy, or you go to a lawyer like yourself, or you go and consult a visa agent. Can we talk about each of these individually?
Sure.
First, doing the paperwork by yourself, is that the best way to do it?
Strange as it sounds, I look at immigration. I come from initially an American immigration background, and then I ended up here in Thailand, and over time I ended up kind of in the Thai immigration system. I honestly look at immigration like taxes. You know, you can do your taxes on your own, or you can hire somebody to do them. It's up to you. It's how much time and energy do you want to spend learning about this thing to get what you want done. A lot of people think that I have problems with people that do it themselves. Quite frankly, not at all. But I've definitely met a lot of people that DIY their visa stuff, and sometimes they end up dealing with us, for example, and they end up just telling me it's almost always the same story. It's just convenience. I'm just sick of dealing with this. I just want to show up, hand you what I need to hand you, give you the money, and just get it done. But DIY, it's definitely possible. You will wade into it. A big difference between, for example, the American immigration system and Thai system is, look, it's very discretionary in Thailand, and quite frankly, the regulatory structure and the way that the immigration apparatus interprets that regulatory structure, it changes very rapidly, and it's constantly in a state of flux, or it seems to be constantly in a state of flux. That can be very frustrating for folks, and there are folks that decide that, hey, I just don't want to deal with that all the time and have to learn it new every year. I just want to deal with somebody that does it all the time.
All right, so let's go to visa agents. Now, there are many. If you type in visa agent Thailand, there's just pages and pages of them. And some people get caught up in various scams with some of these agents. Some of them are more expensive than others. What's a bit of a ballpark with these visa agents? How do you know if the one you're contacting is legitimate?
Well, I don't think you can ever know. That said, I have a really low opinion of visa agents in American immigration context, because the American immigration law is clear. 8 CFR 292.1 is clear who can do immigration work. There isn't a visa agent there. People think that attitude of mine, sometimes colleagues think, that extends into the Thai realm. It definitely does not. Visa agents can provide a real service here. Now, the issue is it's largely unregulated. So, yeah, I have seen people that have fallen into real problems. Most notably, toward the beginning of the COVID situation, the pandemic, when immigration was very much in a state of flux, especially late 2020, where folks were they were in nebulous situations. I saw, off the top of my head, I can remember 2 cases of folks coming to us after visa agents literally lost their passports. They said it went into the system and didn't come out. You know, I don't know, but then you had to deal with getting a new passport. Well, you got to report the old one lost. You got to get a new one, and then you got to deal with your visa situation.
Yeah.
Again, visa agents can be very useful, and especially in a localized context. Each immigration office is kind of its own world, and some of these visa agents that are in these kind of more remote immigration offices, they have a far better grasp of what's going on in that local office than, frankly,
and the people in the office
than, frankly, much of anybody else. So sometimes people even contact us in an immigration context, and they'll say, hey, can you do this? I'm out in this province. And I'll say, well, we'll check into it, and we end up referring them to a local agent, because of the circumstances.
I've used visa agents in the past through various needs I've had, and had good and bad experiences. I always would recommend that people perhaps get a recommendation from somebody that's actually used that agent. If they're going to use a visa agent, you will pay for the service, and you will also pay for the service if you go to a lawyer directly. Right. So obviously Integrity Legal do this sort of work work for people.
Sure.
Who are the sort of customers that would come to you for these people said, "Oh, I can't do this.
Right.
I'm suspicious about visa agents. Can you help?"
The biggest thing that frankly we see is people abroad of all categories that just basically say,
"Help!
I just want to get in, and I don't really want to go through the rigmarole of learning it on my own." The other thing, more than anything, we really do, business visas. Business visas is a world unto itself. It's its own, within Thailand, for example, here at Immigration Changwatana, Immigration Division 1, there's a business visa unit. They have their own set of rules regarding business visas. I mean, most B visa applications we're dealing with here on a regular basis, they're about this thick of paperwork, because you're talking corporate documentation, tax documentation, going back a long period of time. Sometimes that stuff has to be in duplicate or triplicate. Sometimes that stuff has to be certified copies. More than anything, where we see folks that are really wanting a lawyer in an immigration context and not so much a visa agent is business visas, that more than anything.
And Ben, I think one thing we should say with any of these approaches to a visa, whether you're doing it by yourself, through a visa agent, or with a lawyer, you're probably going to be talking about lots of paperwork.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, sure.
What is it about Thailand and paperwork?
Yeah, I think they bail it and they keep it in line. I've actually seen.
Where does it all go?
Yeah, it's actually, a lot of it's in the basement of Changwatana.
Really?
Yeah, literally. But they just do think this is a paper-based immigration system primarily. And the other thing to keep in mind, we were talking about business visas, there's a work permit component which has its own set of paperwork on top of the business visa. And you could be talking about that in a marriage visa context as well. I don't know what, frankly, they do with all the paperwork. When I went through my own nationality process to become Thai, they pulled out my entire file. They had everything. And it literally filled up a conference room desk of all my stuff. It was sitting there in front of me, and I said, "Where do you keep this?" And they said, "Well, we got our places. We
do you remember the original Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah.
The last scene?
Yes.
Where the camera pulls back to reveal this enormous warehouse.
Yes.
I think that was filmed in the area where they store all the Thai
the basement of Changwatana, probably. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all.
Okay, Ben Hart from Integrity Legal. And if you are thinking about getting a visa, yes, you can do it yourself, and there's plenty of websites that will give you that information. There's also visa agents and, of course, lawyers, and we'll leave it up to you to make that decision based on your circumstances. Ben from Integrity Legal, there's a link in the description. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we'll have another Thaiger story looking at these visas and law and legal issues on another Thaiger story on the Thaiger.